So bending sides is a task that seems to confuse a lot of people. I think there are probably two ways of doing it. You can buy one of those new fancy gadgets where you put the sides in them and bend them down around the shape, but in many respects they're not practical. When you take the sides out of that, they'll spring, which means now you need to cramp them into a big heavy cumbersome jig and do your construction in there. It's not a great idea. If you bend the sides on a bending iron, they'll bend and they'll stay bent, and they'll never move. So first thing we're going to do is to moisten the surface. I always start at the waist. You can start wherever you like, I suppose, but I moisten the surface. With the waist I always put a rag over it just to stop it scorching too badly. Not that the scorches won't come out easily, but the waist is a bit of a difficult area to get them out of, so the rag will prevent that. Now with bending it's simple, that the wood goes onto the iron like so. You leave it there for a second just for the heat to transmit itself to the timber, and then gradually start to bend. The important thing with bending is you give it even pressure on the top and the bottom with both hands. So put it on the iron and bend it gently. You shouldn't be wrenching hard, there's no need to overdo it. Just have it on there and pull it round the iron like so, and there's the waist. It's as simple as that. Now before we go any further, I have a shape here. That's all we need to compare it to. We make sure the waist is going to fit in there. It does. I know you can't see that, so you'll have to take my word for it. So we can moisten the rest of it, at least the upper bout, which we're going to do first. And again onto the iron it goes, and give it a second for the heat to work its way into the wood. Moistening the wood causes steam to penetrate the timber and makes it a little bit more pliable than it might otherwise be. Thickness of the sides can vary. This is Indian rosewood. It'll bend quite satisfactorily up to certainly 2.5 millimeters. I don't have my sides that thick. These are about 2.2 millimeters. It'll bend quite satisfactorily at that, and indeed thicker, as I've already said. So we bend it round like so, just to get an idea of an upper bout. Now we can compare it to our shape to see how we're going, and it's not going too badly. I've overbent it here, so we can simply straighten it a bit on the workbench because it's still hot and it's still pliable. If it won't straighten, we simply put it back on the iron and just wiggle it a little bit like so, take some of the bend out of it, and we offer it on there. So it's still fractionally too much there. I shouldn't talk so much while I'm doing these things, I should concentrate more. But there we go, that fits pretty perfectly. It needs a bit more here now, so we'll just put a little bit more in around this area, being careful to hold the thing and give it equal pressure on both the top and the bottom, and there it is. It fits pretty perfectly. Might have a little bit too much here. I know I'm making this look quite easy. I've probably bent in excess of 1,000 sides over the years, so I do appreciate that. It isn't quite as easy maybe as it looks at the moment. However, it isn't super difficult, and you'll never get it unless you practice it, so I urge you to buy a bending iron, not one of those other fancy contraptions, and bend it. So the lower bout's exactly the same as the upper bout. We put it on the iron, we moisten it first, make sure we're giving it even pressure at the top and the bottom. We can stop and have a look. Now if it's not, I don't know if you can see this, if it's not square, it's going to look something like that, in which case you're applying too much pressure to the top and not enough to the bottom. What it should look like, you know, is that, which is evenly bent. So, having said that, we shall continue. Do be careful of the bending iron, it's terribly hot. So we're just still comparing it to our little shape there, just to make sure we're pretty right. We're not too bad. So now we continue with the lullabout. As I say, do be careful of the bending iron, it's terribly hot and you will burn yourself rather badly if you touch it. The wood gets very hot as well, so you need to be a bit careful of that. You can see I'm holding it back here where I'm not bending it so as it isn't too hot. If I held it up here I would burn myself on the wood. So let's have a look how we're going. And we're not doing too badly. Make sure we're square. You need to put a bit more of a bend in there. That's coming on pretty well. Okay. So we continue around the lower bout. So, and off we go. And that's a pretty good fit. Okay, so it's just a bit of a touch up if I can get it in there without the iron hitting it. Okay. Touch over it here. Like so, and a little bit more in around here. And there she is. Job done. All we need to do now is bend the other side, and the advantage of the bending iron is that we're simply ready to go now. I can immediately put the blocks on it, I can immediately start working to put the linings on it. There's no wasted time. So what's it taken? Maybe 8 or 10 minutes to bend both sides. Excuse me, I've already done one. And we're ready to go.